It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey, guys. Welcome back and happy Tuesday. Guys, as you know, we have a busy day. We've been pumping out pre-records and we've had a couple lives today. And just to be clear, I know you guys have seen the subscribers only live chat. We're moving to a different format where everything is subscribers only. That way we keep the live chat censored. We make sure that the conversation is clean and we don't get any of the negativity in here because it's just really not warranted or welcome. So we're back today with Ronald Richards, who has another exclusive. And I saw some of you guys in the chat saying, oh, well, I hope Ronald Richards joins the conversation. This is a conversation solely with Ronald Richards. So if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. That way you can join in the live chat and let's welcome Ronald Richards. Hi, Ronald. How are you?
Hey, Adam. How are you doing?
Good. So this is, okay, I have to say, all of us follow you on Twitter. I always tell you that you're always posting new content. And when you do, I don't have to sit here and compliment you, but I just want to, because you always attach documents to the tweets that you give us. And it's kind of like the proof is in the pudding, and we appreciate the heck out of it. So thank you.
You're welcome. I always like to tether a document to a post because we use our Twitter page as sort of analogous to a press release or an easy way to deploy information to everybody so they're on top of things to the extent they want to be.
All right. Well, I've done a couple of videos this past week regarding Erika, and I feel like this is in the worst way possible of saying this, but I feel like this is almost the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to the Girardi scandal, because we get headlines, if not daily, we still get them weekly, and you're always covering all of it. And one of the headlines that came out this past week or the week before was about Jay Edelson from Edelson PC pursuing Erika because from what we're gathering, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he feels like by putting out a subpoena for the footage, there might be some unaired footage of Erika Girardi or Tom Girardi speaking about something to do with the Boeing plane crash victims that might actually help him in his case.
Are you asking me to comment on the subpoena that he released to the public on a press release?
Are you okay to do that?
Of course. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're asking me to comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like sometimes our office does, we actually tweeted some links. Edelson's firm, who's of course been a leader in galvanizing, exposing what happened with the Girardi scandal, he actually inspired me to keep investigating when those contempt citations were getting more aggressive, and when he was pursuing Girardi and company, it actually motivated me to really focus in on this, and his zealousness and their firm's zealousness has been inspirational and important in this entire debate. So he had publicly released the subpoenas, basically telegraphing some litigation strategy, which of course is his right, to get the outtakes. We provided litigation hold letters to the same production company. And I guess the theory is that there's going to be some B-roll or cut statements by the cast members, which may have some evidentiary value.
Okay. So this is interesting to me because when we talked earlier, and people don't know this yet, but they will now. When we talked, obviously, every time we have you on, we discuss the fact that you were brought on by the trustee in order to figure out where the heck these funds went, where they went to, where they came from, where is the money, and you've been on this hunt in order to figure out how to get this money back in order to help the victims, okay? But that's not why you're here today. You're back because now you and Erika, from what I'm gathering, you're finding common grounds in this new motion, and this is mind-blowing because normally we're here to talk about you pursuing Erika, not you being on her side of the court, if that makes sense.
Yeah, bankruptcy sometimes has strange bedfellows, and the reason why it was important to sort of talk about this today is if I didn't, there'd be a lot of people that don't know anything about the case, that have no access to the information, and they would just be speculating, and that would have been unfair to Edelson, unfair to Erika, and I just wanted to nip it in the bud. And of course, there's no better place to do it than on my favorite independent media outlet, which is Up and Adams. So I just wanted to clear this up. Our opposition was due today. I always try to resolve every case and every motion without court resources. That's what a lawyer does, because it's good for the judge, it's good for the public, and it's always good for the clients if they're saving legal fees. So in this particular case, we filed our opposition, and we don't know who else is going to oppose this motion, but basically this was a motion filed to basically get sort of the blessing of the bankruptcy judge to pursue Erika as a defendant in Chicago. And so because of the reasons that we put forth in our opposition, we don't think that's a great idea, because we believe we can get a better result through cooperation and through having just one court handle the matter against Erika. And everyone should remember, I'm not authorized to go after other attorneys or other people. That's not my mission. I'm only authorized to do things that are Erika Girardi related. In the future, it's possible that I may have other authorizations, and that's why I'm exploring all other people, but it has to be done in a process. Right now, she was the only one that had authorization to. So while I'm working very cooperatively and collaboratively with her counsel, I also obviously want to work and will work cooperatively and collaboratively with the Edelson firm, because they're the ones that started the ball rolling, but now they're not really representing any specific victims because of certain legal reasons. They're now pursuing their rightfully earned attorney's fees that were diverted by Girardi. And we don't, in principle, really have a disagreement with that. If fees were diverted from the Girardi account that were supposed to be Edelson's, that's not really Girardi estate property. That's going to be Edelson's legal fees. But we need to talk about sort of this concept, and I'll let you ask the next question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up a tweet that you put out on your Twitter as of recently. And guys, if you're not following Ronald Richards on Twitter, you can follow him at attorney Ronald Richards. But this was the tweet. It said, opposition filed by trustee to Edelson PC's motion for relief from stay to pursue Erika Girardi. Due to the nature complexity of the pending motion and our belief, all parties to this motion will resolve it without further court action. At the bottom of this tweet, it said, it is being posted as it was filed due today, as the opposition states, the Edelson firm has been instrumental in shedding light on Thomas Girardi, as well as their zealousness led to the appointment of the trustees. We look forward to resolving this motion and getting to the truth. This is still mind-blowing to me, because we're so used to seeing you on the other side. So like you said, bankruptcy, this can be a tricky concept, but we're not used to seeing you on the same side as Erika.
I know it is confusing, because first of all, I always have to do what's right. Erika should not be fighting a lawsuit in all over the country, in my opinion. I mean, we're already suing her for accounting, meaning where's the money? So we're getting a judge to order that. And by the way, I don't think I'm ever going to need to go to trial on that. I think her lawyer is going to cooperate, and we're going to get to the bottom of where the money is and what happened to it. I already know what happened to it from an expense standpoint with the $25 million, but we just need to button up a couple things so we can make intelligent decisions. And then the other thing that she's being sued for in Chicago is what's called a constructive trust, which we're suing her for the same thing. And it just means that if you got any money that were the victims, you're holding it in trust for the victims, and you need to return it. The judge in Chicago has already stayed that cause of action against Girardi's son-in-law, and he would stay it against Erika. So there's really only one cause of action that's out there, and that's accounting. And so if we could just provide the accounting now and sort of resolve this issue and kind of figure out where did the money go, then as long as Edelson's money wasn't taken, there's no reason for Edelson to be pursuing Erika. And I don't want Erika or whoever is helping her to spend now thousands of dollars on lawyers in Chicago when that money could be used to resolve a case here. It makes no sense to anybody, and it's not really fair to her to have to fight this thing in all these jurisdictions. And so that's why, from a policy standpoint, I felt like we should just ask for a pause and then try to resolve it without, her wasting money on legal fees. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, to be fair, too, one of the biggest questions that people have when it comes to you being a part of the case is the fact that you are working off of a commission. Now, kind of like for anyone who doesn't understand, like a real estate agent, if you don't find this money, if you don't find something here, you're working for free. You get no commission, correct?
That's correct. And I find it mildly offensive when people say, they complain about my negotiated fee. Every lawyer that's a special counsel, and this, by the way, I worked as special counsel on a case where I worked for 5 years and my fee was $25,000. The guy stayed in jail for 5 years, but I worked for another trustee. It just finished. But I never gave up because I liked the trustee a lot. He's a great trustee. And I'm saying, sometimes you just stay on the case and you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of firm time, but the defendant or the debtor or the target never has any money, and that's just the way to go. But I mean, if a lawyer was taking this case for free, wouldn't you be questioning their motives, that they had some other motive, like they needed publicity or some of that? I mean, you have to have a financial incentive to collect the money. I mean, I'm working on this case nights, weekends. It's the highest priority. I mean, if I don't get any money, that's fine. But if I do collect some money through my own skills, why is that a problem? You would have to go out to market to get any firm is going to want a high risk contingency. I mean, it's not like Erika Girardi has any attachable assets. I mean, you have to look at this case in the reality that it is. Her husband paid all these expenses through the law firm. What she knew or didn't know would be very difficult to prove. Think about it. Mr. Girardi's not going to help me out at this point in time. And so we're just trying to come up with a solution that's fair. And if that solution one day may be she doesn't have to pay anything, I may work on this case for 3 to 4 years and may collect the money from some other source. But all the time I spent on Erika will just be lost time, and that's fine. But it's not like a good lawyer is going to come forward and drop all their cases. It would be very suspicious if they weren't getting a penny. I mean, there has to be an upside at some point. And so the fee that we may get if we collect anything is a very standard universal fee for an unsecured claim against someone that is being sued by a lot of people with a lot of liability. So, I mean, it's not so simple here, Adam. It's not like there's a cha-ching anytime in the near future.
Right. Okay, and I want to bring up this question before I ask you my next question. Why are, thank you, Brandy Anders, why are Erika's assets not being auctioned off like Tom's firm? She likely has millions in jewelry alone. And a lot of people have been asking this question because we've had a peek inside of her closet. We've seen her jewelry. We've seen her Hermes bags. We know that some of these bags are worth more than $10,000, $50,000. So why are we auctioning off, stuff out of the Girardi Pasadena mansion and not anything out of Erika's personal collection?
Well, that's a good question. Just like this motion filed by Edelson, that's in the Thomas Girardi personal bankruptcy. That's not in the firm bankruptcy. There's 2 bankruptcies. So it's not even in our bankruptcy. But with respect to the same analysis as to why is some stuff being auctioned off, all the firm stuff like the office buildings, the memorabilia, that was easy to auction off. That was kind of like company assets. The other assets in the Thomas Girardi estate, that trustee has a different access to different capital. It's a different person. They have a different agenda, how they're going to handle it. It's an individual bankruptcy. So typically, the trustee doesn't go in and there's a sort of a debate, Adam. Only the community property gets to be auctioned off. So if you give your spouse a ring or a piece of jewelry, it's not community property anymore. So you don't just get to take it. That's a factual debate. So no one's going to go to a spouse and rip jewelry off their finger if it was a gift, if that makes sense.
Real quick though, and I'm only asking you, and you might not even have the answer to this, because when you say that, I understand that Erika has said for a long time, these are my gifts. This is not community property. But when we watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills back to season 1, 2, 3, 4 with Taylor Armstrong and her husband, who unfortunately took his own life, she said maybe it was at the reunion that they literally knocked on the door and took her engagement ring from her. But wouldn't that be considered a gift?
Yes. I mean, obviously, if there's a paper trail from the law firm spending firm money on high-priced purses and jewelry, that stuff may have to be clawed back. But it's not really my ballywick because I'm not handling the personal bankruptcy. And I think there was a conversation with her already about what assets are community property and what assets do you contend are gifts. And you don't have to, as long as she has the jewelry, you don't have a right to just rip it off someone's hand. A judge has to decide that. And I think it's more of a situation where they have the spouse catalog the jewelry and then they make an agreement not to dissipate it. And I don't think anybody would do that. But you're really kind of, I don't know if you've ever tried to pull a ring off a woman's finger or a bracelet. I'm not going to do it. I mean, you're sort of asking for a huge fight. I don't know what the value is. I mean, again, that's not my forte. If there was a judgment, then it becomes part of her estate. There's an exemption, but of course it would all come into the mix. But as long as they know about it, I think that's fine. I also think that Tom Girardi did give her some gifts, and there's bigger things to deal with right now than used purses, even though I know people are going to say they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, I'm looking at other lawyers that should be responsible, other professionals that filed these bogus tax returns, in my opinion, that they need to step up and be responsible. It's not the whole reason why we're here is not because Erika spent a lot of money. Okay, there was a lawyer and a CEO and other professionals that did the dirty work. Okay, the fact is that the only thing I've ever said is, look, you can't get money for nothing. If there was no consideration, you have to return some of it. I'm not going to analyze whether you're a good or bad person or not. It's just that you can't keep all the money. And that's what we're going to work out, hopefully voluntarily, because that's the right thing to do.
Okay, well, and I know that, one of the next natural questions that people will have is now when it comes to you and Erika finding common ground and opposing the motion, people will want to know, okay, so now is Ronald Richards working on this for a 40% commission of something, or do you get paid in a different way? Is there different? And I know that sounds so invasive, but that will be one of the number one questions that you get, of course.
That's a great question. I didn't even think of that. You're smarter than me. Okay, no, me opposing a motion that sort of, and participating in with the declaration and exhibits, that's actually free. The victims, the creditors don't pay me a penny, because that just goes into the gestalt of, hey, you're kind of maybe going to interfere with my lawsuit, so I have to participate on my own dime to oppose it, but the estate pays me zero for that opposition, zero. That's just kind of like part of the dessert you get when you hire a firm of our caliber. We're just going to handle that stuff. We wouldn't charge anyway. There's no fee structure, but we're just doing that. So the estate gets the benefit of all of those resources for free. The only way we ever get paid is if I collect real dollars. That's it. And those dollars have to be paid. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep if we don't get paid. My career didn't start with this case, and it's not going to end with this case, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, I like all the people that write us, and I also like that people are becoming educated when their attorney doesn't pay their settlements quickly. I get a lot of emails, hey, my case settled. It's been a month. Do you see that as a problem? And, without becoming their lawyer, I certainly guide them to, hey, no, that doesn't sound right. Here's what you should ask for. And I think the public awareness is important. I think that had the public been aware of someone like Girardi beforehand, all these other victims would have been maybe not in the same position.
Okay. Well, also, I want to take another question here. Trudy Ann Barker said, is it a gift if Erika purchased it with her credit card now that we know that there was over $14 million plus racked up on an Amex bill?
I don't think so. If the firm booked it as a receivable, I think that it is what it is. I mean, Erika has a community property interest in the law firm, but I don't think that the Amex charges are what we call gifts unless there's a written document from Tom that says it's all a gift. But those were expenses mostly paid for her personal services company, EJ Global. I mean, a lot of those went to that. Also, their joint lifestyle. There is some things on the Amex that are gifts, like if Tom took her on a trip on a private jet and he decided to deduct it as travel expenses, I don't think I'm going to claim that Erika owes us for their personal vacation. I mean, that is a gift. It just depends on what we're dealing with. And jewelry, by the way, Adam, is an easy thing to defend that it's a gift, because the jewelry, you could say, look, he gave me this gift on my 32nd birthday. And then there may be a card or a video or something of them getting the gift, or an email saying, thank you for this gift. And spouses are allowed to give each other gifts, and they're not subject to attack by creditors of the estate. I mean, otherwise, every time your spouse did something, you would never have anything of your own. You'd always never have anything to take away from the marriage. And that's not how the law is set up in California.
Okay. I do want to bring up another question for you, because I'm sure, and I'm just trying to cover what questions you might be faced with once this all comes out. Brandy Anders again said, wait, so Ronald is fighting against the plane crash victims? Because that might be a next natural question when people find out that you are now on the same side as Erika when it comes to everything that Jay Edelson is pursuing.
Okay. Well, Brandy, let me address that. No, I'm fighting to protect the theory of a bankruptcy, and that is we don't have what's called a multiplicity of lawsuits. I'm already suing Erika for accounting, so my preference would be for Erika not to be sued by someone else or maybe another 300 lawyers for accounting. I mean, there is something called, we have an expression law, opening up the floodgates. I mean, if Erika and any other sort of affiliate of Girardi could be sued outside of the bankruptcy process, we would have so many lawsuits in a totally unorderly and unwieldy situation. So that's why, from a policy standpoint, we don't want our own targets to be sued by creditors independently. You don't get to jump the line and start bringing your own lawsuits that mimic our claims. That's a bigger picture issue. And we think in the long run, it would hurt the creditors if one creditor, and it has nothing to do with Edelson. This would be if any creditor tried to sue Erika directly, we would oppose it if it's covered by our lawsuit. It just happened, unfortunately, to be one of our most popular creditors, which is the law firm that opened the Band-Aid on this. But this could be just any other creditor. We would take the same position. Hopefully that answers her question.
Okay. And then one of the questions that I have for you is, what would Jay Edelson be hoping to achieve out of all of this? I mean, honestly, what does he think he's going to get at this point?
Well, I never could tell you what's in someone's mind. I could tell you legally what I think they'd like to get is basically they'd like to know if any of their settlement money that unfortunately Girardi took from them. You know, when the case settled, the Edelson firm should have got their fees, but they magnanimously said they're not going to take any money until the clients of theirs get their fees. And that's what started all this. But now that those clients have other counsel, they still have a right to their fees. And if those fees were literally stolen from the Girardi trust account, with all other facts being the same, those fees are technically not the estate's fees because they went into a trust account and they're marked to clients and attorneys. And if Girardi just stole them, Edelson should be able to get their fees if they can trace it. They got to be able to trace it. And it's such a mess. The money is mixed up and what's called commingled that it has to be unpacked. And so I think what they were trying to do is say, hey, we want to do this. And I'm trying to hopefully work cooperatively with them and say, let's all work together and just get to the truth. And then we don't have to have we don't have to worry about the policy reasons as to why we don't want two lawsuits against the target for the same cause of action, which is accounting.
Okay. And then my next question for you is, because you and Erika are now finding common ground in opposing the motion, Erika would obviously have to be very aware of this, correct?
Oh, yeah, of course she's aware of it. I mean, we've filed other stipulations to move dates back. I mean, I understand that people would like to be in a public case and not have an attorney talk about it. And that is even a higher ideal for me. I'm never going to give up telling the public the truth about what's going on or be involved in censoring our positions. However, I don't want to have anything I say be construed as inflammatory either, because we're at the point of the case now. I know from my perspective, the largest recipient of Girardi Keith's funds was the expense account of EJ Global. So I don't need to spend any more time on that. I'm now in the position that I've done my homework, and I'm hopeful to get all the parties together. And this motion was actually healing and therapeutic, because by having a relationship with the Edelson firm and figuring out, did any of your fees get stolen and given to somebody else? It may not be Erika, it could have been another person, we don't know. That will resolve another open issue, because if it's truly just commingled and it can't be traced, then it's just going to stay in the pot or in the estate, so to speak. So we do have to track down legitimate claims by lawyers that claim their fees were just literally stolen from the trust account. And that's what we intend to do. So if we do that, they're not unreasonable. If they see that this didn't occur, then I think that we'll be able to resolve these motions, and that's what, I intend to do, is address everybody's concerns.
Amazing. So before I take this Rosemary question, and no, Rosemary, you don't have to do a super chat in order to ask a question. We have a lot of questions popping up, so I try to get them as they come. This is a very cotton candy question for you. When I say that, I mean it's very just surface. Really, who cares? But a lot of people who read the headlines, read Page 6, Radar Online, Reality Blurb, everything in between, they will want to know, in your opinion, do you think with you taking this standpoint, will the Girardi tweets stop when it comes to maybe referring to you as slow on the case, not painting you in the best light? Do you think that this will at least be some sort of common ground where, okay, no more Twitter feuds, no more social media back and forth?
Yeah, as you know, I don't like the term social media.
I know.
Yeah, my Twitter page that the firm uses is simply in lieu of a press release, in lieu of having an interview at the courthouse. But I'm not interested. We only respond to her comments. She's made some comments on our Instagram at attorney Ronald Richards. She's also actually posted on there where she's liked some stuff, but that's a kind of more of a fun thing from a Twitter user standpoint, to see the one person that has millions of followers commenting on the lawyer's professional and social pages. I think that's interesting, but I'm not looking to comment about her as far as in sort of an aggressive manner, because there's no point at this point. I'm getting cooperation, and we're sort of moving toward, I'm hopeful, moving toward, putting all this behind us. I don't want to see a woman that obviously was screwed over big time by her husband. There's no way Erika was in charge of all the complicated firm settlement disbursements. And I mean, it's not possible. And I see no evidence of it. So we just got to look at what it is. A lot of money gravitated in one direction. Some of it needs to come back. As far as the tweeting, of course, I'm going to still put out stuff like I did today, that's relevant and material and important. But I think that the public doesn't benefit from a lot of feuding. I think that it's fun, but at this point, it is a serious matter. And I kind of just want to get everybody the rest of the information that they need, and just kind of have a more detached role on this, because it's gone on and now we kind of got to bring it to a close, in the sense that I think the victims don't want to wait another year for their money. I think everybody wants to get things allocated, And so I'm going to attempt to do that. But if people put on a false narrative, then of course I'm going to respond aggressively in dispelling the false narrative.
Okay. Again, before I ask this Rosemary question, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. And don't forget, this is a subscribers only live. So in order to engage, if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Ronald, I want to ask you one question because I'm super interested in this. You get a lot of flack for going on social media. Twitter, for going on Twitter, for tweeting out posts that have documents attached to them, for talking about the case, for giving us your opinion, which is your right. And you get a lot of pushback. A lot of people love you for it. And a lot of people push back and say that you want all of this media attention. Now, what is the difference between you doing that and Jay Edelson going on Reality Life with Kate Casey or these podcasts and doing these interviews? Because it seems like it's the same thing that you're doing. But we don't see backlash for Jay.
I'm wondering why the double standard. Lawyer Jay Edelson's firm has national cases and they publicize them all the time, and he publicizes things he does in the Girardi case. I mean, lawyers have a right to publicize their cases absent a gag order, and I don't know why there's a double standard. It's a little strange. I think some of it is, people that are very zealous about Erika and they don't want her criticized. Certainly my track record is different. I've criticized where appropriate, but a lawyer's allowed to talk about their cases and put out components, and it's rarely to get more notoriety. It's because the case is a matter of public interest, and this case has a lot of public interest. It's not Ronald Richards' interest, it's the public's interest in exposing a lawyer that has diverted, over $50 million away from where it should have gone, has a tremendous amount of liabilities, I believe over 100 million. And the public needs to understand what happened and understand all the players, and what better people to tell the story than the lawyers that are involved in the case. Why would you want to listen to somebody just reading pleadings? You need to listen to somebody that, for this particular case, there's very few people that have the ability to put it out there. Not every lawyer on the case has had a Twitter page for 13 years. They don't even know what Twitter is. So that's just and I'm talking to a different audience, Adam. Your audience likes to watch you on YouTube. They're not maybe watching a different medium. So I'm addressing your audience. That's the audience that I like to address, where I feel that they wouldn't get information from other sources all the time. So that's why I'm giving it through your lens.
Right. Which, though, by the way, when you come on here, you will see this tomorrow on Page 6, on Radar Online, on Reality Blurb. They will completely give their rendition of this conversation.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I mean, it's not. They're going to be listening to a tape, and they can quote whatever they want. But I think it's important for people to understand sort of the basis of this stuff. I see a couple funny quotes that I'm doing a 180 on Erika, which I think is funny, some of these comments. But no, I relentlessly, aggressively, tenaciously pursued her, and there's nothing, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. You don't want Erika to just file a bankruptcy. She's done nothing that can't be discharged in a bankruptcy. That would be the worst lawyering on earth if I was so aggressive that I just pushed her into bankruptcy, right, Adam? Or she had her resources so diverted that she can't afford to defend 9 lawsuits in 9 different jurisdictions. So that's why, people should realize if she files a bankruptcy, that's it. I'll be out of luck. I don't have any evidence against her to make her debts non-dischargeable.
All right. So now finally, I'll get to Rosemary's question. Thank you so much, Rosemary, and everyone else who's posting inside of the chat. Everybody talks about Erika getting a pay raise to pay the victims, because as we heard last season, she made about $600,000. Now we know going into season 12, they are paying her more because, well, by her going on, anything that she says can and maybe will be used against her. So getting a pay raise to pay the victims, can they garnish her wages like everyone says?
Yeah, you can garnish 25% of someone's wages, and that's another reason why I'm happy that Erika has a livelihood on the Housewives, not because I want to garnish her wages, but because I want her to feel comfortable to resolve the case and feel good about it. I mean, I was always hopeful. I mean, in the reunion, she referred to them as alleged victims and alleged allegations. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that there are real victims. They're not alleged. They're victims of a heinous abuse of trust by Tom Girardi. I mean, I'm not worried about getting sued by Tom Girardi for defamation that he didn't steal client money. I mean, bring it on. I'm not worried about that. He did. Okay. The evidence is in fact overwhelming. So the issue really is, I would think that because you were married to him, that there would be sort of, at some point, she said that she believes that everybody that needs to be made whole should be made whole, that you'd want to be a part of that process, whatever that is. I mean, again, we can't have a dog pile of claims. People need to know that if they pay money, this is it. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish without sort of running everybody over. I mean, if I wanted to, Adam, I could file, dozens and dozens of motions and lawsuits and keep the pressure on so much it would just run them into the ground. And then what you get is a bankruptcy. And that's not a good idea. That would be ineffective. The way to do this, what's best for everybody, is to make the plane land softly without blowing up the cockpit.
Got it. Okay, so Tammy Hendricks said, is the reunion going to be used in court since she stutters when asked about what she said to Tom? Meaning she did speak to him when she lied.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Are you asking me if I know she spoke to Tom? Is that the question? Do I know?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't imagine that you would know if she actually did speak to Tom, but I think what the question is, will the reunion, any point in time where she might backtrack on something, anything that she says, can the reunion footage be used in court?
Yeah, well, the reunion footage can be used in court. Absolutely. I think there was some confusion. Of course, any statement a party makes can be used in court. It doesn't have to be sworn. I think that people should realize an admission, a statement doesn't need to be under oath. So you could use anything on the show or the reunion that the actors or the non-scripted talent says. And that's just like a normal out-of-court statement. But if it's made by a party to the litigation, it's not hearsay, it's admissible. So that's the difference. If it's not made by a party to the litigation, like by someone other than the defendant, then it's not admissible. You have to have that person come to court. That's the difference. Party statements are always admissible. So she said there's been a lot of statements on these shows that if you start pulling them in, they create a bunch of inconsistencies. But what does that really mean? Whether she spoke to him or not, I mean, there's a lot of evidence I've seen where Tom was driving her nuts and wanting to talk to her, and she didn't want to speak to him anymore. I mean, I don't necessarily buy on that the divorce was a sham. I don't know what it gets them, okay? In fact, it's better for the victims that the divorce goes through, because then Erika doesn't have community property and has post-separation income that's not part of the Girardi estate. So I don't necessarily think that a divorce, that the divorce has any problems. I also made sure that the divorce attorney represented to us with the appropriate representations that he had no relationship with Tom Girardi. So I think that's important to know, that her attorney has no prior relationship with him. She's not like a friend of his or anything.
Okay. I want to give you the opportunity to defend this, and you don't have to defend yourself, right? But there was a comment that came up, and it was from Jen Johnston saying, yes, you did go after Erika aggressively, and now you are backtracking, peddling.
I mean, I don't know what I'm backtracking on. Again, that's why I wanted to do this live, because people may just say, oh, he's on the same side if he's opposing a motion that she's going to oppose later on today. No, I'm protecting my lawsuit, and I'm also protecting that if there's a limited amount of money, I don't want Erika's resources split up to have to hire expensive lawyers in Illinois to defend her. Everyone should realize she doesn't live in Illinois. So she's going to have arguments on personal jurisdiction, and she's going to have arguments to try to defeat any lawsuit in Illinois without even getting into the merits. So why do I want, if she has X amount of money, why do I want more lawyers to get her money? I don't. I want that money available for settlement purposes and to resolve my case, but I don't want that lawyer in Illinois to be prejudiced. So I want to work out a solution where it's what we call a win-win. That's not backtracking. That's smart lawyering, in my opinion. If you don't think so, please give me a follow-up question if that explanation wasn't satisfactory to you.
All right. And Patricia Casey said, question, did Ron find out what the source of Erika's attorney's fees were?
It's a question I ask her lawyer once a week. I would like to, I won't settle the case until I understand the source of her professional fees, because otherwise it could be, you know, an account that potentially is estate money. But I mean, I'm going to find out. I will never settle the case without knowing, but the answer is no. But if I do find out, I'm not going to publicize it. So I'm sorry about that. I'm not going to dime out if it's a person that I verify was just helping, because I'm not going to bring in a civilian into this that legitimately just wanted to help her. That's people's right, but I'm going to probably not be able to disclose that.
So to be fair, if we find you on Twitter saying that you just announcing that you guys have come to a settlement deal, then we can all just know in our heart of hearts that you have figured out what the source, how her legal bills are getting paid, where it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I'll confirm that I determined they're not estate money, and that they're not from a source of estate money. So I mean, I won't play games with you. I'll tell you, but I'm saying I don't need to. Oh, thanks, Patricia. I appreciate that. I don't need to. I need people to feel comfortable to tell me facts. So if this person that's paying her bills knows I'm not going to expose their assistance, and they're going to let me verify that they were giving assistance, why would I want to humiliate them or have them embarrassed? I mean, can you imagine? A lot of people, Adam, don't want to be on Twitter, YouTube. They don't want people talking about them. And so you have to balance that out. And by the way, it's very normal in a case for financial records that are provided through the discovery process to be subject to a protective order, and you don't disclose those things. I mean, that's how you get financial information. And I think who's paying for legal bills, that identity of that person is technically not financial information, but if it's part of an overall settlement, then of course I'm going to keep it under wraps. However, if people play games with me, then I'll get it through compulsion, and I don't have any obligation to keep it under wraps. It'll just depend on how everybody behaves and if they still continue in their spirit of cooperation.
Okay. All right. So I have two more questions for you before we go, because I know you're an extremely busy man, and I want to take this question from Tammy Hendricks first. When will Erika take the stand under court of law? Is that ever going to happen? That
may never happen if there's a settlement. I think that in the Thomas Girardi bankruptcy, there's a permission for them to continue with a state debtor's exam. But again, like asking Erika how the taxes were filed with Tom Girardi, in my opinion, is going to be a blank wall. I mean, I have no evidence that Erika was preparing the tax returns for her and her husband. I mean, it's preposterous, frankly. I think that her husband in the accounting firm did the work. The CEO that took the fifth, Chris Kamen, I think that he was in charge of a lot of the numbers, and that there were so many clients and accounting that this is not something that she was responsible for. I see Barbara's question up there as well. I mean, the IRS will do whatever they do. I don't think she's going to be criminally responsible for anything. There's already claims against the estate for IRS taxes due by both the Franchise Tax Board and the IRS. And if those are paid, then there won't be anything to be accountable for. All the claim will be paid.
Okay. And then I guess I know that, you know, again, let me bring this up really quick. Here, a super chat, everyone thumbs up. But oh, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. My last question, I guess, and I know I said that was my last question, but my last question is, when you say the estate, is that because this is all filed under a business LLC? So that's why it's considered an estate, because it's an LLC or a business that has millions of dollars?
No. Estate is a term of art. You have the Thomas Girardi estate. That's basically all of Tom Girardi's and Erika Girardi's community property.
Okay. So that's just a term.
Yeah, that's a bankruptcy term. It's also a probate term. It's a family law term. An estate is all your assets. So the estate of Adam, it's whatever you have, your channel, your YouTube channel's an IP asset, your bank account's part of your estate. It's the same thing here. There's a law firm called Girardi Keese, and that is an estate. It had buildings, ownership in buildings. It had, well, those were actually in different partnerships, but it had a lease, it had office property, it had all these cases. So that's part of that estate, all the clients and all the revenue from those cases and all the money that came in, that's all separated, part of the law firm estate. But that's how you describe it. That sort of sets the boundaries of the money. So any monies that went from the estate to pay Erika's expenses, those are estate assets that went to pay for this benefit. That's what Edelson is looking for. Did any of his money go directly from the trust account to Erika or to somebody else? Then it wouldn't be an estate asset because it was basically someone stole his legal fees. That's what he's trying to determine.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, with that, Ronald, I appreciate you coming on, and I know this was super last minute, and I'm sure we know without a doubt we will have you back on in the future. This was amazing. I'm sure a lot of people, we gathered a lot of information here. I feel like we all learned something. I definitely learned a lot out of this conversation. So I thank you and I applaud you. Again, I know you don't need a praise from anyone, but thank you for keeping us posted on Twitter. We appreciate it. And guys, if you're not following Ronald on Twitter, make sure you go follow Ronald at attorney Ronald Richards, because he's always keeping us posted with daily content. Yeah, and I just want everybody to know, I'm not giving another interview about the filing. So I wanted everyone to be able to listen to the nuance in a calm format that Adam provides where he's not rushed. I support people getting their information where you don't have to pay for it, like on a paywall, or you have to pay cable or these crazy rates just to hear from a lawyer. To me, it's offensive. And so I support YouTube is a news media and an independent resource that Adam provides, and that's why I come on the show. Trust me, I'm not going to get one case or one economic benefit from doing a YouTube. I don't think like that. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I just want you to know my sole motivation to come on here is so anybody that wants to comment about this narrative, about why am I filing an opposition that seems to be on the same side of the person that I'm suing, they could just replay the YouTube with the text if they want on the closed caption and watch it while they're working out or walking or doing something else, and they can listen to the real answers from the lawyer that was involved and not have someone misrepresented or speculate. That's my only motive, I promise you. I'm not trying to get well known from being on this channel. And Adam, of course, even though he gets more and more subscribers, that's not the reason why I come on his channel to do this. It's a purely academic and First Amendment and sort of public service issue, because I just can't stand when people go on these things and they just really kind of just spew conjecture and speculation. And that's why I do it this way. So I've been, if you ever go to our webpage, you'll see I have hundreds and hundreds of media appearances going back to the Michael Jackson trial. I mean, so many media appearances. So I only do this for those reasons. And I hope people could appreciate that. There is no other motive. I've taught law school. I've lectured at UCLA. I mean, I think that people that sit and listen to you, Adam, live, they're very smart people. Look at these great questions. It's not like dummy TV. This is what I love about this. It's interactive. People, and even the people that like to make a pot shot toward me, I can see it on the comments and I can respond to it. I think it's great. I'm not upset about it. Like, it's fabulous.
Okay, so that's why I do it. It's better than just having an interview on TV where you don't get to talk to the person being interviewed. It's so one-sided. And that's why, Adam, I think we both agree it's the best format on your show, right?
Honestly, I appreciate everything that you're saying. And yeah, that's why I love having you and so many other people on, because one, you're a wealth of knowledge. You give us the information. You don't mind taking questions from our live chat from our subscribers. It's a real treat to the subscribers because we're all following the Girardi scandal and trying to figure out what's going on. So we're all following you on Twitter. So when you come on and I get to ask you questions and, you know, the subscribers get to ask you questions, it's really just a treat for everyone, especially because we know how busy you are. So again,
all right. Well, thank you very much. And we'll talk soon with the next sort of buckle in this development as it goes forward.
All right. Well, Ronald, thank you so much. And guys, again, if you're not following Ronald Richards, go on Twitter right now. Don't call it social media, not for Ronald Richards, but go follow him at Attorney Ronald Richards. And you can find that in the description of this video. Ronald, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. And then also, just to be fair, we are going, but we will be premiering our Kathy Hilton interview tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be set as a premiere. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. We're coming back for another Hot Messy Topics, Monday through Friday tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Subscribers only. Call in, subscribe, join in, give us your unfiltered opinion. If you agree, let us know. If you don't, let us know. We welcome all opinions. With that, here's a little insight to our Kathy Hilton interview, which you can catch tomorrow at 4 p.m. Love you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
No, I adore you. I watched you. I came across you. And you're always up and very positive. And your voice, and you're adorable. And I think I discovered you.